Making a video. Didn't really want to, but yeah, really have to. The old Anekantavad has made he's just such a cheater of reason and arguments. But it reminds me of Nietzscheism in the sense that Nietzsche just tore things down. Okay, he just tried to put everybody into categories of negative and found fault with everything, but proposed nothing, suggested nothing, created nothing. And Anekantavad is the same kind of weasel. He'll take no account for anything. He just slanders other people with, practicality. Yeah, like they did the wrong thing. Why? Oh, no reason. It's just, yes, and anybody who tries to do the right thing is Hitler. They have some sort of wrong ambition and therefore are, comparable to the Khmer Rouge and Adolf Hitler and Stalin. But he'll never take account for Patton. He'll never take account for Grant, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. You want to suggest that the Americans shouldn't have had a revolution, and then suggest they shouldn't have had a civil war, and then suggest that Roosevelt shouldn't have drafted people into World War II? I mean, how far does this fucking bullshit game you play, how far are you willing to take it? Obviously you won't take it anywhere. Because you're a manipulator and a liar and a weasel and a piece of puke. You really are a disgusting human being. You wish to defend your own elitist philosophy by merely slandering and throwing mud at. What's another word for it? Character assassination of sorts. Guilt by association. Because two words begin with the letter A. They're guilty. But you won't account for the fact that your name begins with an A. That kind of thing. You're just such a duplicitous hypocrite. Grotesque. So let's just point out that he just is, celebrating his tyranny. The tyranny of imposing life on a new human being when he has no justification for any kind of... He has no insurance policy against failure. Nothing. He's going to, if the kid turns out to hate his guts and hate the life that he imposed on him, he'll have nothing to say except, oh, my bad. Too fucking bad. I did what I felt like doing. Tough luck, shithead. So that's his version of totalitarianism. He will tell people that life is worth living, and then he'll create them and force them to live it. And then he'll say he's a freedom lover. No. Sorry, no sale, fuckhead. Anyway, so let's play this crap of a video. Wearing his little Buddha shirt, I guess.
Video that I made yesterday, I had a little quick to and fro with mystical ascends, where I made a case that I'm not entirely sure that I actually subscribe to myself. One of those, let's pause at the idea that type.
Let's pause at the idea that. Yeah, you don't say anything, that's right. So far, in every video you've ever made, all you've done is throw mud at something, and you have never taken account for what your strategy would be. How would you stop polio? How would you do anything that needs getting? Would you build the Hoover Dam? Oh, it's going to inconvenience some individuals. Guess we can't do that. Obviously, you wouldn't have colonized America. Okay, so the Aztecs would own it now, I guess. I mean, that seems like the inevitable end for the North American. If the Europeans didn't kill them, the fucking Aztecs were going to do it. Or the Incas.
Discussions. Said that, looked at in a certain way, Nazism was a form of utilitarianism because...
Yeah, well, whatever. Well, what can you say? Right? Is there anything to say? No, I think it was a form of wearing silly shirtism. So, obviously you're a Nazi. Nazis used to like that top button being buttoned. That's just totally Nazi. I think the Khmer Rouge were big on that kind of shit too. So, yeah, you lose on both accounts. So yeah, you're obviously a Nazi Khmer Rougeite. Obviously.
In Hitler's view of things, all that mattered was the German people, the Volk. And
well, what matters to you, fuckhead? You know, you don't tell me. Well, obviously animals don't matter to you, okay? Fuck them. So what does matter to you? What's the big deal for you? You think a rapist ought to have the right to rape? You think parents ought to be able to sexually molest their children? You think they should have that right? What exactly what is your agenda on this fucking planet except being a selfish cunt? What are you taking responsibility for on this planet? Oh, that's right, absolutely nothing. Fucking asshole.
Not the people as individuals, but the Volk in the abstract.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly an abstract in the sense that, yeah, your country is turned into shit because of, you know, absolute bullshit after the war and debts and all this other kind of crap, and you get totally fucked, and so you do something to defend your country because you don't have anything without a country, right? So that seems a little bit logical now. This whole idea of blaming the Jews for everything and doing all that mass murdering and shit, nah, I don't see much logic in that. You know, but the fact that Europe was in big need of some sort of unification, yeah, that was sort of a truth.
So whatever benefited the German people was inherently desirable in terms of the Nazi regime. A few quotes come from Hitler to support this idea that this is what he thought.
Right, and I could come up with a few quotes from George Washington. I mean, he thought his soldiers were just scumbags, and he didn't really give a fuck how many of them dropped the fuck goddamn dead of any fucking goddamn disease you want to pick. Then like I say, you go to Patton, and there's probably about 10 million quotes where Patton said, fuck them, man. It's war. They're supposed to die. That's what soldiers are for, dying. That's how you win wars. Your soldiers die. Yeah, you don't win by sitting home safe. No, you gotta go out there and actually shoot at the other fuckers, and they shoot back at you, and sometimes they kill you. And that's how you win a fucking war. So is Patton a fucking totalitarian, evil motherfucker because he happened to be a winning general? Maybe you should go through the list of all the generals who are actually winning generals and see if they actually gave a shit about the soldiers in any other way except recognizing their fucking pawns in the war. Huh, shithead? Why don't you explain to me? Why don't you give me the list of the general, the great, compassionate, loving general in human history who won battles by keeping his soldiers safe? Go ahead, show me that list. Oh, you won't do that. That's right, because that would require you to have a fucking ounce of integrity. Something you don't even understand. That concept totally eludes you. Integrity? A little bit of fucking honesty? Oh, no fucking way will we get any of that from you slandering, lying pieces of shit.
For example, when the German Fifth Army was wiped out at Stalingrad, he mentioned to Louis von Kleist, one of these top German generals.
And Patton said too, Patton, many of your soldiers are dying. And Patton said, fuck you, man. You know, yeah, it's war, man. Yeah, war is hell. You ever heard of that, fucker? War is hell. What is this shit? Why don't you bring up Castro? Oh, how many soldiers did Castro? How many of Castro's soldiers did he kill? Fuck.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? Had to be done to stabilize the Eastern Front. Those men...
Well, was it true or wasn't it not true, I guess would be the point. But what is the fucking point of backseat driving war strategies? I mean, I can see it about, like, the nukes. You know, when we dropped the 2 nukes, or when we burned down the fucking goddamn Germany after we already had the war fucking won. I mean, that was just, you know, blowing the legs off little kids and shit. I mean, that was fucking insidiously goddamn fucking disgusting. Now, were those totalitarians who did that? That was utilitarian philosophy. Somehow, let's burn down Germany. That's somehow to our advantage. It'll be really great in the negotiations with the Russians if we burn down this shit. Because maybe the Russians won't think it's worth anything then. And we can steal it all. I mean, what exactly was the fucking strategy? What was the utilitarian strategy in fucking goddamn burning a bunch of fucking civilians in fucking Japan when you could have Okay, just blown the top off of Mount Fuji. I mean, it's just a slander to say, oh yes, this is the utilitarian way of thinking. You know, kill as many people as possible. Don't give a fuck about people. No, the utilitarians are saying, you know, they're the ones that are the vegetarians. They're the ones saying that the suffering matters. They're the ones saying that you have to do this within some boundary of reason. I mean, you're just such a lying, slandering cunt. I mean, to call Adolf Hitler a utilitarian and then say all the rest. George Washington wasn't, though. He was a humanitarian, right? He was a lover of the human race, right? Called his soldiers a bunch of debaucherous, raping, molesting, insane pieces of shit. Gutter trash. He called his own soldiers gutter trash.
Don't really matter. What matters is the Volk, the German people as a whole. Only the nation matters.
Well, I don't even know. I don't know. What the fuck? I mean, where in any war did somebody not be thinking that when they're having the fucking goddamn war? Shit. I mean, who was the tyrants in the goddamn Civil War? The people who owned fucking goddamn slaves? Or the tyrannical bastard union telling them they can't own people anymore. They can't keep them in chains. Because that's too humanitarian. Fuck.
So they died for the good of the organism. Also, in the movie Untergang, which apparently...
well, in the movie Gone with the Wind, okay, they got great images of the Civil War, right? And all the silly little Southern people, it seemed all they were interested in is totalitarianizing, you know, capitalizing on their free labor. They want to give that shit up. They wanted to live their privileged lives. It seems they are all totalitarians, not utilitarians.
This is researched as well as a historical documentary, or historical fiction, work of fiction.
Yeah, says you. Now you're authority on how well something was researched. Okay, super. I don't buy it.
Historical fiction could be. He's quoted as saying the same thing in the Battle of Berlin. For the good of the nation, we must be cold as ice and not think about the lives of the men who are being killed to fend off the advancing Russians.
Okay, and so you don't think like Yokomoto and all the other whatever Japanese guy things were saying that all over the place? You don't think the Russians have said that? You don't think Patton or Grant or Abraham Lincoln or, you know, name any one of these guys, the soldier guys. You don't think every fucking one of those fucking cunts has said something quite similar, especially in the jaws of a defeat? What do you think the assholes on D-Day were thinking when they were sending all those little fucking, you know, bullet bags to on the beaches to get their fucking faces blowed off? What do you think they were thinking, shit for brain? Yeah, anything different than Adolf Hitler? In terms of the disposability of these shitheads? Fill the little boat with them, they'll run out of bullets eventually. You don't think that's all they were thinking? They'll run out of bullets sooner or later, so yeah, send some more stuff to collect bullets. Yeah, send some more of those guys who collect the bullets. You know, the enemy's bullets. They collect them. They're bullet collectors. Were they utilitarians? Fuck you.
Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Only the nation matters.
Again, what matters to you? Not something called civilization, right? Because you're not willing to do any dirty work to have one. No Hoover dams for you. No highways. No anything. If somebody's going to be goddamn inconvenienced, well, we got to call it the fuck off. You can't do anything for the future. No, you're going to suspend somebody's liberty to be a rapist and a pillager or a fucking preposterous collector or a hoarder or any other number of things for the non-polluter, a non-exploiter of a fishery. You're going to pass a law telling somebody they can only catch so many fucking fish? How dare you, you totalitarian bastard! You're gonna regulate behavior? Oh, you fucking utilitarian evil motherfucker. You mean you're gonna preserve something thousands of years into the future with a little minor legislation? Holy fucking shit!
Sounds kind of utilitarian to me. And
yeah, well, you sound really, you know, well, there's no point, but yeah, Stefan Molyneux, Scientology, yeah, you sound like you're playing the same goddamn game. All you do is talk down, you don't talk about anything up, okay? There's no upside to this bullshit you're talking. You're like Ronald Reagan. Chinese city on a hill. Yeah, that's what I'm promising. Yeah, it'll happen automatically. Don't worry about it. Don't pass any laws against drunk driving or rape or child molestation, and the shiny city in the hill will just pop out of the earth all by itself. No need for no polio vaccines and shit like that. No imposing on anybody about anything. We don't need no freaking laws, and we don't need no public investments, and we don't need to sit there and take any land to do anything. No, 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 no. The shiny city will just pop right out of the earth. No problem. Trust me. I've read Nazi literature. Nietzsche. I'm a big Nietzscheite. Nietzsche knew all this stuff. Nietzsche knew everything sucked except his imaginary vision of the future that he never articulated a single solitary ounce of a plan to get there. Not a single policy, not a single idea of how to get there. Shit.
his regime wasn't so much, although there was a lot of scapegoating, but there were...
yeah, scapegoating. Straw man scapegoater ought to be your fucking name. Change your name to straw man scapegoater.
...is that he was going to promote the interests of the German people, i.e. making them the slave masters of Eastern Europe and the somewhat benign overlords, at least as he saw it.
Right. And what do you think the sacred fortune assholes that signed the American Constitution, what do you think was in their heads? You know, they were thinking about, yeah, I'm going to get rich. This is going to work out really good for me. And yes, well, all those suckers, you know, that, you know, Thomas Paine has been talking into war in, you know, yeah, well, they're going to get shit out of the deal. But us founding fathers should make out pretty good. But they didn't figure out that, you know, Thomas Jefferson would sort of fuck them by writing a constitution they couldn't get around, I guess.
Of Western Europe. He was going to enslave and despoil the peoples of Eastern Europe, or exterminate them, in order to benefit the people of Germany and Western Europe.
Yeah. So that's your theory. I think what he was going to do is have a big unified Europe, and yeah, it would be sort of German. Yeah, that would be the idea. But okay, go ahead and make it into something. I don't need to defend the Nazis, I really don't. But I'm just saying every single empire, the Romans, you can go through every single one of them. And yeah, there was good and bad in all of it. And, you know, some of it was just awful. Just, you know, stupid mission, badly implemented. But yeah, lots of people fighting on the right side fought on the right side in a very bad way. And that's just the truth, shit for brain.
Sorry that you gotta die, but it's for the good of everybody. That's a kind of sick type of utilitarianism, if you...
Yeah, well, if you ask me, any idea that you would sacrifice 2 or 3 people to save millions, that's silly. It's silly to have, you know, drafts and wars and things like that in defense of freedom or liberty. That's not my problem. Their enslavement isn't my problem. I mean, what's your solution? Again, what would your solution be? What would this guy as emperor, you think he would have got the job done? Huh? Yeah, I mean, all I can see is this guy saying, well, what's in it for me? That's his philosophy. What's in it for me?
That's me. And I said, on the other hand, the Khmer Rouge were a form of negative utilitarianism. Once we'd killed off...
Yeah, again, anybody who has a vision of the future is now a utilitarian. So regardless of what their philosophy was made out of, the bulk of it, because they wanted to change something that's automatically utilitarian. If you want to go from what you are now to some other place, you're now a utilitarian. I mean, this is just such a pile of shit.
All of our class enemies, things will be a lot better because they are the ones who are screwing everything up.
Well, isn't it the truth sometimes? Let's say if Castro would have been able to have his revolution, we left him alone, right? So the day after the revolution, he kicks Batista out. They're done with the rich elite owning everything. He implements some socialist crap, and we leave him alone. No sanctions, no bullshit. Do you think Castro would have failed? Do you think Castro would have been a tyrant? What do you think would have really happened, shit for brain? I'm just curious.
Rather than Hitler's view of taking the goodies from other people or making sacrifices in order for things to be better, they were simply saying we have to cut the cancer out of our society and then things will be better.
Well, they were doing your Ubermensch thing, right? They were doing your master thing. So they were just doing what you're doing. In a sense, you're saying, look, we should have some sort of go back to a Nietzsche-esque world where survival of the fittest. We shouldn't be placating the weaknesses in the world. That was Nietzsche's philosophy. Don't placate it. Let it starve and die. So isn't that the same thing? What's the difference? Whether you kill it or starve it to death, what's the difference? Oh, you think there's a distinction? Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's a fucking evasion of taking responsibility again for what philosophy you advocate, shit for brain. What kind of world would you build? What kind of law would you pass?
I'm still not entirely convinced that these are positive or just utilitarianism and negative utilitarianism, but it's an interesting one.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting way to just slander people casually, like harmlessly, like no one ever saw me do it, and so I can get away with it, and I don't have to take responsibility for it. I can lie and impugn other people's character by, throwing this Nazi card and Stalin card and Khmer Rouge card, and I'll just imply that they're all evil bastards trying to steal your freedom. They hate your freedom, and that's the only thing they care about. Is hating your freedom. Why don't you lie? Just lie and be a propagandist. Oh yeah, no, I maybe it sounds like propaganda, but I don't know. Maybe, possibly, could be, possibly, maybe, possibly, possibly.
Examine these two concepts. Not much of a utilitarian, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. So I don't know what you would do for the future, right? Exactly, would you sacrifice absolutely nothing for the future? The future's only, huge, theoretically. It could last a long, long time, but you would sacrifice nothing for it, right? So the present's always more important because the present has you in it, right? Is that how it works? And you're so much more important than the billions or trillions of people that could be living in the future. So if something's going to impose on your freedom at the least little bit, we have to say that's totalitarian nonsense. Because we have to have the right to steal the future's money and basically shit in their atmosphere. Who's the totalitarian? Ah, yes, you are, fuckhead. You're the one imposing.
But it lets you know, and I don't think I'm the first person to have ever made the comparison between utilitarianism and totalitarianism. It lets you know where these things...
I don't know. Who else has made the comparison except for maybe lunatics? Who? Who else? Why don't you name names again? That's another thing you pussies can't do. What do you got, some sort of pink tutu underneath that shirt? Come on, show us your true colors, pussy.
This can go if taken in a certain way. I won't even say taken to extremes. I'm just saying if taken in a certain way.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yo, boy, let's not make it incredibly vague. Let's make it preposterously incredibly vague. So if you take the idea of doing good for the future to some certain extremes that I won't name, boy, is that ever bad. So, look, I mean, this doesn't fit in the category of anything other than slanderous propaganda. This is not goddamn philosophy. This is propaganda. Guilt by association, guilt by accusation, not evidence. Just grotesque. And, of course, the same grotesque pieces of fucking slime, Hoffliday and Dew Cunt in the morning. Dewey Cunt. Yuck. You disgusting people. You're just fucking disgusting, lying fucking bastards. You're the tyrants. Ugh. Too big a pussy to defend what you would do. Enough said. Till next time.